Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Barakahakwadash, Barakatum. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and infinite honors to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone who rule and teach well. In peace and salutations to you sincere Akim out there, pushing this word in truth and sincerity to the four corners of the globe. May you brothers endure until the end. This is the brother Ra'aya coming at you with another lesson. I'm going to start it off in Revelation chapter 9, verse 12. One woe is past, and behold, there come two woes more hereafter. And woe means destruction. And this is speaking of World War I, World War II, which of course both are past, and World War III, which, for all intents and purposes, you can say we're in the beginning stages of. And World War III is going to end in nuclear missiles being shot all across the earth. This is 2 Peter chapter 3. I'm going to start at verse 10. But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. And, those heavens passing away are speaking of, the rulership of Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, because in the scriptures, heaven and hell can be symbolic for a condition. Heaven when you're in rulership, and hell, when you're at the bottom, which is currently where the children of Israel are, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And as the next part said, the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. And nuclear fire is what's going to melt the elements with fervent heat and burn up the works in the earth. And this nuclear destruction, is synonymous with Esau, Edom being taken out of power. And I opened up the video with these verses to preface an article from independent.co.uk titled Russia and the U.S. threatened to resume nuclear testing after several decades. Here is why it matters. And as we went into it, those first two precepts, it matters because, and I believe they've already resumed nuclear testing, but, them talking about resuming nuclear testing is going to result in those nuclear missiles being used, leading to the works in the earth being burned up and the elements melting with fervent heat during that third woe. It just so happens that Russia and the U.S. are the two main players in World War III. The U.S. and Russia have both recently threatened to resume nuclear testing, alarming the international community and jeopardizing a global norm against such tests. And, I did a video about a month or so ago on how Russia has already been testing nuclear capable, weapons. They got the Poseidon, they got, the Zircon, and of course, the Satan too. The United States and Russia have both recently threatened to resume nuclear testing, alarming the international community and jeopardizing a global norm against such tests. Experts say these threats from the world's two largest nuclear powers put pressure on non-proliferation efforts and endanger global peace and security. Because of other countries' testing programs, I've instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis, U.S. President Donald Trump said in a post on his Truth Social site at the end of October. The process will begin immediately. Moscow quickly responded. Russian President Vladimir Putin told his Security Council that should the U.S. or any signatory to the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty conduct nuclear weapons tests, Russia would be under obligation to take reciprocal measures. Here is a look at what a resumption of nuclear testing could mean. The treaty established a norm against nuclear testing. Concerns about the negative effects of nuclear weapon tests grew in the 1950s when the U.S. and the Soviet Union carried out multiple powerful atomic tests in the atmosphere. As a result, a limited nuclear test ban treaty was negotiated that prohibited such tests, but underground tests were still permitted. Renewed international efforts to ban all nuclear tests resulted in the start of negotiations for a comprehensive treaty in 1994, culminating in its adoption by the UN General Assembly in 1996. With 187 states having signed the treaty and 178 having ratified it, most experts believe the treaty has established a norm against atomic testing, even without formally entering into force. For the treaty to officially take effect, 44 states listed in an annex to the treaty must ratify it. 9 of them have not yet done so. So as you can see, it's all, just fluff at the end of the day. China, Egypt, Iran, Israel, which, Israel doesn't confirm nor deny that they have nuclear weapons, and the U.S. signed but didn't ratify it. India, North Korea, and Pakistan neither signed nor ratified the treaty. Russia signed and ratified the treaty, but revoked its ratification in 2023, saying the imbalance between its ratification and U.S. failure to do so was unacceptable in the current international situation. Let's see. I'll just read this last little paragraph here. Daryl Kimball, executive director of the Arms Control Association in Washington, said that a resumption of U.S. atomic tests would open the door for states with less nuclear testing experience to conduct full-scale tests that could help them perfect smaller, lighter warhead designs. This would decrease U.S. and international security, he said. And, U.S. security is ultimately going to decrease permanently because the United States of America is going to be completely wiped off the earth, at the end of World War III, when those nuclear missiles are shot to the ends of the earth, because it's going to be the main target for them. Like I said at the beginning of the lesson, Russia and China are the two main players in this third woe. It's actually going to be Russia leading these nations in shooting nuclear missiles onto the U.S. But this is Isaiah chapter 13. I'm going to start at verse 17. And the header reads, Babylon will fall to the Medes. And this isn't talking about the ancient Neo-Babylonian Empire or, the ancient Medes. This is talking about Babylon the Great, the United States of America, and the spiritual Medes, the Russians. Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. These nuclear peace talks, weapons bans, treaties, or anything like that. When it comes time for those Russians to turn those keys and shoot those missiles, nothing's going to stop them from doing so. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children, because outside of the 1/3 of the elect in Babylon, when it's hit by nuclear missiles, everybody else, man, woman, child, young, old, even 2/3 of our wicked people are going to be fuel for the fire. And, those bows are symbolic for the missile silos and launch platforms that those missiles are going to be fired from. Because in the scriptures, the prophets had to describe these weapons with what they knew during their times as bows and arrows, which when you see a missile fly through the sky, what does it look like? An arrow. And Babylon, America, the glory of kingdoms, The beauty of the Chaldees' excellency shall be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And when you look at how the Medo-Persians took down the Neo-Babylonians, they didn't burn it to the ground. You know, it was a surgical strike by Darius the Mede to take out the leadership. And then, you know, the Medo-Persians moved right in. Ancient Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed with fire and brimstone from the sky and made desolate and uninhabitable. And that's exactly what's going to happen to this modern day spiritual Sodom and Gomorrah, which, you know, spiritual Sodom is another name for America as pursuant to Revelation 11, verse 8. It's going to be hit with that nuclear fire and brimstone. And here's another telltale sign that's not talking about ancient Babylon, which is in modern day Iraq, because you have people still dwelling there to this day. It shall never be inhabited, neither shall it be dwelt in from generation to generation, neither shall the Arabian pitch tent there, neither shall the shepherds make their fold there, but the wild beasts of the desert shall lie there, and their houses shall be full of doleful creatures, and owls shall dwell there, and satyrs shall dance there. And the wild beasts of the islands shall cry in their desolate houses, and dragons in their pleasant palaces. And her time is near to come, and her days shall not be prolonged. And, you know, with the major players out here with nuclear-capable assets talking about resuming, testing their nuclear weapons, we can see that Babylon's days are near to come and no longer being prolonged. And when everything's said and done, the United States of America is going to be the biblical lake of fire, and then a desolate, uninhabitable wasteland where man, woman, or child will never set foot on ever again. And as it says, only harsh desert creatures are going to dwell here. But that's it with this video. With this video, I hope you sincere Akim and Akwath were edified. Just keep strong. We're almost out of this final wicked captivity of the heathen nations, chiefly of the Edomites. And as always, I'm going to say Abad Babal, Kwam Yasharala, and until next time, Shalom.